Who watched season 6 episodes? If you didn't, you're going to want to go back and watch them. I'm going to recap them on season 6 closer, but if you want to know anything about leadership hacks, the things that I wished I knew day one, you're going to want to go back and take a look. Stick with me. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. I am your host, John Espinosa. Welcome everybody to the Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everyone, John here. Welcome to the Leading Leaders podcast. I have been traveling for about a week and I love to travel. I love to go places. I absolutely love to do new things, eat new food, but I will tell you, it is nice being home. It's nice being back in the studio. I've recorded some on the road shots and there's nothing like coming home and being in front of you all. So I want to say thank you for continuing to listen in. And any new listeners out there, you are in for a treat with this episode. Welcome to the Go Be Great community. I open up the season with the season opener. I close the season. We happen to be closing season 6 today. Time has flown by. I can tell you that I wouldn't have imagined we would be this far into recording. One of the things that I took away from this past week, I'm just going to share something with you real quick before we get into the episode for today, is people don't believe in themselves. I've talked to too many people last week that wanted to start something, had a great idea, and they were in the process of getting there. They just haven't moved to action. And a lot of times it's because they didn't think that they could do it. They thought, there's too many people out there doing what I want to do. And I don't know if any of you are in that same spot. Maybe you want to start a company. Maybe you want to invent something. Maybe you want to take a leap into a whole nother career field. Maybe you're out there, you're a young leader, and the major you're in, or whatever you're studying, whatever you decided to go to school for, isn't really what you thought it would be. And you're thinking about making a change. You're thinking about making a difference in your life. You don't have to have everything figured out to move to action. I was listening to a great podcast today, the great Tony Robbins, and he talked about too many people focus on the how and they don't spend enough time on the what and the why. And that's an important concept to learn. That's important because I believe in you. If you are investing time to watch the Leading Leaders podcast, to join us, we record this thing 3 days a week. And many of you out there spend the time not only on this podcast, but you're probably listening to other podcasts. That alone speaks volumes to your character, to your fortitude, and to the fact that you can do hard things. I believe in you. What I'm asking is believe in yourself. So let's get into season 6 recap. You know, when I was brainstorming some topics for season 6, and the team and I were idea board, right? We got a huge board right here in front of me that is our idea board. And I love to mind map things. I love to start with a concept and then figure out what all goes into that. And you know, one of the great things about what I've been able to do with this podcast is bring others in. Your comments mean a lot to me. I get a lot of questions. I put those up there on the board, and everything has tentacles. In season 6, when we were sitting down, laying out what season 6 would look like, everyone was like, what would I have loved to know day one? What would back to that action piece. You're thinking about getting into leadership, or you've been in leadership for quite some time, and maybe you're burnt out. You know, that 3 to 5 year mark, when we are in a profession, when we are doing something for 3 to 5 years, it's exciting. It's new to us. We're learning. We have a fire. And around that 5-year mark, you get to start mastering what you are doing. You get comfortable. And I don't dare say it, but you might even be complacent. And if that's you, then season 6 is for you as well. It's not just what you need day one. It may be what you need today to get re-energized about your role as a leader. And it doesn't have to be in a company. Maybe you've been wanting to volunteer for your son or daughter's sports team. So it's taking that step. Things that we've covered in season 6 are things that I've heard successful leaders do well or wish that they did better. Let's talk about trusting the process. How many times when you're in the mud, you're in the thick of things, you're in a hard challenge, maybe a financial challenge, you're struggling to pay the bills. You're struggling to pay the mortgage. It may be a work challenge. You got a pretty important report due, or maybe you have to do a briefing. It could be a leadership challenge. Your organization is making a change, and you have to lead through that change. Doesn't matter what the process is. When we're in the middle of the process, we can't see anything outside of that particular situation. But I will tell you one thing that we discussed in season 6 is you have to trust the process. That process is going to yield you the experience that is going to propel you to the next challenge, so that way you are just a little bit better prepared. We also talked about the triple D's of how to get things done. You either do it yourself, you delegate it, or you delay. Those are the 3 ways to get things moved off of your plate, out of your inbox, out of your to-do list, whatever that looks like. We talked about cultivating a team, creating that capacity. As leaders, you do not have to be the smartest person in the room. In fact, I would surround myself with a ton of smart people, or go-tos, as I called them in the episode. When we make that transition from an individual contributor, you may have been the person that everybody went to get the job done, to figure out a problem, that knew the history of the organization, or knew the history of your family, or knew the history of the problem, or maybe you were the one that experienced that problem before. You were the go-to. But as we transition into leadership roles, our responsibility changes. Now we must create a team of go-tos. It's that capacity. We are cultivating others to whatever they may want to be, to get others to where they're going. That's our mission here in the Go Be Great community, to help others get to where they're going. One of the other topics that we talked about, and this I call the leader's kryptonite, and that's ego. 3-letter word, leaders, ego. People can smell ego a mile away, and they will start to distance themselves from you if you show up with ego, if you show up with an edge. Check your ego at the door. Again, we don't have to be the smartest person in the room. We don't have to have all the answers ourselves. That's why we build our team and we cultivate that team, and then we check the ego at the door and we approach situations with curiosity. Never stop learning. The best leaders are the best learners. I've been in training for a long, long time, and the people who continually volunteer for training opportunities, who volunteer to teach others a trade, a characteristic, that teach others how to do something. In order to teach, you have to know. In order for leaders to grow, we have to put ourselves out there. We have to continually challenge our thoughts, the way things are. It's that big vision that we always talk about as a leader. That vision should be big enough to where others can fit themselves into it. That's why leaders, we don't dream big enough sometimes. You got to have that moon vision or that moon goal. Just think about that when the U.S. announced that they were going to go to the moon. I mean, it seems pretty simple these days, but imagine coming out and saying that back then. That was a huge goal. Do you have a moon goal? Do you have a goal that is so far out there, it scares you? It makes you uncomfortable. Because back to that complacency thing, as leaders, when we get complacent, when we get comfortable, you're either growing or you're declining. So as leaders, if we are the best learners, if we study and continue to learn new traits, to learn how to have those crucial conversations, to build our emotional intelligence, to put those tools in our communication toolbox so that we become the best versions of ourselves, so we can go pour into others. So that way we can go help others get to where they're going. So we can help other leaders become the best versions of themselves. And in order to do that, we have to continually learn. Our organization, people will do as you do, not as you say. And if they see you learning, what are they going to do? They're going to turn around and they're going to want that knowledge. They are going to crave any type of training that you can offer them, any skill that they can take back with them, because as we grow people, as we value others, they see that. People around us, they can tell pretty quick. People are smart. They know if you are using them, a means to an end, or if you're pouring into them and valuing them. And the end will figure itself out, I promise. So this season we did a book review, High Road Leadership. John Maxwell, one of the greatest leaders that I know in my generation, has written, I don't know how many books, has sold a lot of those books, but this one's pretty special. He wrote this one for his grandkids, and he calls it a picture book. It talks about the 12 principles that he believes are important and are absent from leadership in this day and age, and how his future generation needs to possess those 12 principles, so that way the trust in leadership is rebuilt. We also did a couple live sessions. I'll tell you, I'll just be very truthful here. I can get in front of a camera and talk all day long and hit record, but that live session, when you're live and you're out there, we did it on YouTube. We're going to try it over on some of the other platforms, either TikTok or Facebook Live, but it is candid out there. I'm going to start scheduling our live sessions so that way you all can come watch, ask questions. I'll answer questions. It was really fun. I had a really good time. It reminds me of the first time that I got in front of the podcast camera and hit record, because I had all those butterflies, all those mixed emotions about what if I say something wrong. But in the end, it was a great experience. It created growth in me. I always try to challenge myself to do new things, and hopefully passing on that knowledge, helping somebody, just one person, overcome a challenge that I went through, so you don't have to do it. That's the whole purpose behind what we're doing here in the Go Be Great community. So season 6, if you missed any of season 6, I promise you, just go back and watch one episode. It is great. It is really good stuff. We're moving on to season 7, so make sure that you're subscribed. You get those alerts, you get those notices. It helps us out, and I would be very appreciative. Give us a thumbs up, put a comment, question down below. I promise that I'm listening and I'm watching that, and I respond to every single one of those comments. Who knows? One of your comments, one of your ideas might be up here on this dream board, and we're going to talk about it. I love being part of this Go Be Great community. I hope that you are finding value in being part of it yourselves. I believe in each and every one of you. Go Be Great. We'll talk to everybody later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go Be Great. Talk to everyone later.